set up, or they just wanted to know who my connect was, right? Which I was not able to give out. And then since he did a lot of favors for me, I kind of felt obligated, being naive, at that time I was 24, obligated to set him up with a bigger amount, which that is kind of, was my big mistake. But I mean, that was just the first question. Was really, really odd, because we used to go to these poker parties up in Harlem, like private parties. And then he asked me one night if something happened because he invested into something, if I could bring some drugs over the border. And I said, no, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I'm scared. And again,
Today, we're diving into the latest bombshell in the ongoing saga surrounding Diddy. A new witness has emerged, and her story is sending shockwaves through the industry. This former worker turned supplier has broken her silence, and what she's revealing is jaw-dropping. Reports suggest she operated as a supplier for high-profile parties and industry events, implicating key figures. Her arrest made headlines, and now, years later, she's back to set the record straight. This revelation could have significant implications for Diddy's defense. But who is this mysterious woman, and what explosive details does she possess? Let's find out. But before that, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get into it. In an interview with Nives Gadoni, the author of The International Madam, she shared her remarkable journey of how she, as a woman, managed a global sex trafficking ring. Nives began her career as an intern at Sony, but later transitioned into running an escort company. This shift in her career path eventually led her into the world of high-profile parties, including those hosted by Diddy. However, her seemingly glamorous lifestyle took a dark turn when she claimed that Diddy's crew set her up, resulting in her arrest and a 4-year prison sentence in New York State in 2012 before being deported back to Switzerland. This revelation casts a new light on Diddy's involvement, suggesting that his own team may have been working as informants for the authorities. This raises questions about whether Diddy himself was also cooperating with the feds, knowingly or unknowingly. Nives' story hints at a deeper, more complex web of relationships and interactions within the entertainment industry that may have legal implications. Nives then delved into her background, explaining that she arrived in the US from Switzerland at the age of 20 with the original intention of selling watches in the Diamond District. However, when faced with financial challenges in the US in 2008, she decided to stay and set up an escort service as a side hustle. She clarified that her escort service catered to upscale clients and that her employees, who were all at least 21 years old, did so willingly and were well compensated for their time. Within a year, Nives had expanded her business internationally, with 50 girls working for her across Europe, US, Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. These women, mostly from Switzerland where prostitution is legal, were flown into the US on tourist visas for 3 months, earning substantial amounts of money before returning home. Nives emphasized that while she never personally engaged in escorting, she was adept at managing the business side, ensuring that her employees were punctual, well-presented, and able to engage in meaningful conversations with their clients. The host interjected, highlighting the significance of understanding Nives' background in light of the charges Diddy is facing. He wanted to emphasize how Nives' work led to an internship at Sony, where she met D-Rock, Biggie's right-hand man at the time. This connection eventually led her to Uncle Paulie, the head of security, and through him, she became connected to Diddy and his team. Nives elaborated on this, explaining that she met D-Rock at various events and was eventually invited to an event where she brought a friend who started dating Uncle Paulie. Over time, Nives developed a brother-sister-like friendship with Uncle Paulie, leading to their business collaboration. Initially, Uncle Paulie was unaware of Nives' other businesses, as her main goal was to work as a manager or an R in the music industry, not to run escort services.
Yes, exactly. So I met D-Rock just being out and being all at these places where he was as well. And he invited me to some event where I brought my friend with me, and my friend started dating Uncle Paulie at that time, which was the head of security. But that was back at that time. I don't know if he's still working there or not.
However, running these services was a means for her to survive in expensive New York City. As Nives delved deeper into the music scene, particularly Diddy's parties, she noted that substances were introduced into the scene, along with women. While she was asked to bring in some substances, it was not for the parties but more for personal use and client favors. Nives clarified that she didn't focus on making money from these substances, but rather on exchanging favors. However, when her connections started asking for larger amounts, she felt obliged, albeit naively, to fulfill their requests, leading to her involvement in a larger smuggling operation. The host inquired further, asking if Nives was being asked to smuggle substances across borders, potentially to Mexico. Nives didn't explicitly confirm the destination, but indicated that she was pressured into a situation where she felt obligated to comply with their demands, ultimately leading to her downfall.
And so he does this, and you then eventually begrudgingly agree to do this smuggling run as a favor.
Right, but no, it was in New York, so I did not go over the border or anything. I just hooked him up with a substantial bigger amount.
Nives continued her story, recalling an odd question she received at a private poker party in Harlem. A friend asked her if she could bring drugs over the border for an investment he made. Nives was taken aback and immediately refused, citing fear and her lack of experience in such matters. Despite her initial refusal, Nives felt a sense of obligation to her friend and his group, as they had helped her in the industry with various connections and opportunities. A few months later, the friend approached Nives again, this time needing a large quantity of drugs due to a supplier issue. This request did not involve Diddy or his team, but was solely from her friend's group. Feeling pressured and indebted, Nives reluctantly agreed to help with the smuggling, which was to be done within New York, not across any borders. She arranged to meet the friend at an upscale restaurant on the Upper East Side to deliver the drugs.
I was meeting his friend that he introduced me to on an Upper East Side restaurant, like a luxury place. And the second I went in there...
Upon arrival, the friend made a conspicuous comment about having the money, which Nives found odd given the setting. Suddenly, federal agents stormed the restaurant and arrested Nives. Confused and naive, she was unaware of the setup orchestrated by her friend, who turned out to be an undercover agent. Despite being implicated in the crime, her friend was never arrested, revealing his collaboration with law enforcement.
Not to be out there. And that second, the feds stormed the entire restaurant. They took me down into handcuffs.
Nives found herself in a situation where she didn't understand the American legal system's practice of setting someone up to take the fall for a crime. This method seemed foreign to her, as in her home country, such practices were not common. While in custody on Rikers Island, she refused to cooperate with authorities, refusing to disclose any information about her supplier or clients from her escort service. This turn of events highlighted the dangers of the underground world she had become entangled in and the risks associated with trusting the wrong people. Nives continued, reflecting on the daunting task of reducing her potential prison sentence. Facing serious charges related to drug trafficking, she had to strategize to minimize her time behind bars. Despite the pressure to cooperate and provide information about her suppliers and clients, Nives stood her ground and refused to betray anyone. The mistake that ultimately worked in Nives' favor was a discrepancy in the warrant used to search her house. The authorities had the wrong apartment number, which resulted in a botched raid. While they seized her money, Nives had managed to save some funds in Switzerland, allowing her to hire lawyers to defend her. These lawyers were able to exploit the errors made during her arrest, helping her avoid a more severe sentence. Despite the pressure to talk, especially about her escort service clients, Nives remained silent. This decision earned her some favors within the circles she operated in, leading to a reduced sentence offer. Initially facing 8 years, she managed to negotiate it down to 4 years, with the possibility of early release for good behavior.
Obviously, I didn't talk to them about it. I did not give out any names. So I had to figure out, okay, how can I kind of drop down my time a little bit.
Upon completing 2 years of her sentence, Nives was deported and barred from re-entering the United States for 25 years. While she acknowledged her mistakes and paid the price for them, she also recognized the complexity of her situation. She highlighted the terrifying implications of her story, particularly regarding the involvement of Diddy's right-hand man and the question of whether the authorities were working in collusion with Diddy's team. The host pondered the baffling aspect of how Diddy's associate could be an informant for the feds without his knowledge, suggesting a potential betrayal that led to Nives being targeted instead. This raised larger questions about the motives behind the investigation and whether it was an attempt to eliminate competition or enforce a hidden agenda. In response to the host's inquiries, Nives acknowledged the validity of these questions, indicating that she too had pondered the same mysteries surrounding the events that led to her arrest. The circumstances surrounding her case were indeed perplexing and raised concerns about the integrity of the investigation and the motives behind it. Nives responded, acknowledging that she had discussed the situation with various people, including her close friend Gene Deal, who has been vocal about issues involving P. Diddy for years. According to Gene Deal, it's well known in certain circles that Uncle Paulie had been informing to authorities. This perception stems from the fallout of the BMF Black Mafia family case, where many in the music industry were implicated in drug-related activities. Despite their deep involvement, some individuals, including Uncle Paulie, escaped arrest, leading to suspicions of collaboration with law enforcement.
Talk to different people. One of my really good friends is Gene Deal, as he has been very big on this whole P. Diddy situation, has been talking about it for years. And he has told me that, look, in the streets, it's known that Uncle Paulie has been a rat. And the reason was because when all that stuff happened with the BMF, right? We go back to the Black Mafia family.
In Nives' view, becoming a confidential informant for the government entails a long-term commitment. While informants are compensated, they are expected to provide ongoing information. This perspective sheds light on the potential reasons behind Uncle Paulie's alleged cooperation. Despite his reputation in the streets and Nives' initial disbelief, the possibility of his collaboration with authorities cannot be dismissed. The host expressed confusion, wondering if Uncle Paulie would have faced legal consequences if he hadn't been cooperating with the feds. This line of questioning reflects the perplexing nature of the situation and the implications of potential informant activity within Diddy's circle. The host then posed a provocative question: could Diddy himself be an informant for the feds? This suggestion is based on the premise that Diddy has managed to evade legal troubles despite his high-profile status and the alleged incidents surrounding his associates. Nives offered her opinion, stating that while it's not a fact, she believes it's a possibility. She highlighted Diddy's significant influence and the resources at his disposal, including ownership of a media company and potentially incriminating videos involving influential people.
I guess I have so many questions, and we're going to talk about a lot more, but in this installment here, what do you think Diddy is also an informant for the feds? Before we even get to the recent allegations, the raids, based on your experience and what you went through, is that a possibility?
I personally think yes. That's just my opinion. That's not a fact. But I think, yeah.
This observation adds a layer of intrigue to the narrative, suggesting that Diddy's power and connections may have shielded him from legal scrutiny and raised questions about his involvement with law enforcement. Guys, do you believe that Diddy could be working for the feds as he usually gets away with his atrocities? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And check out the next video if you don't know that Daphne Joy accidentally destroys Diddy's whole defense. Then don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next interesting video.